power and there is a point.
Well, there is power. I can't promise a point. I'm Gary Stepp from the Bliski Institute in Zagreb, and I was asked to talk about non-accredited, non-traditional, and then I added non-formal education. I will talk about them in that order: non-accredited, non-traditional, non-formal, but in the middle I will talk about a challenge that has surfaced both recently and in this discussion. Just kind of defining the terms. We all know, I believe we all know what accredited and non-accredited mean. When I say traditional, I mean face-to-face classes. When I say non-traditional, I mean online classes or distance classes. Formal classes are classes where you learn in a classroom in some kind of traditional time structure, a semester, a quarter, a module. Non-formal classes are classes where you learn, or non-formal education is education where you learn on the job. Non-accredited, the chief advantage of offering non-accredited programs is you can be more nimble. You don't have the structures around you that force you to do X, Y, and Z to get ECTS points and make your accreditors happy, because there are no accreditors because it's non-accredited. Now I realize I'm saying all of this in front of my accreditors, which I will get death threats and letter bombs, but if you have ever tried to change an institution, I've been in academic administration in 3 different schools now. If you've ever tried to change an accredited institution, it's like trying to turn a ship. Or it's like trying to make an elephant stop on a dime. Elephants don't stop on a dime very well. And yet, with non-accredited programs, it lets you test things out, it lets you be more nimble, more adaptive to the needs of churches than you can be with accredited programs. That's the chief advantage that I see. We are using non-accredited programs at the Bliski Institute to serve as the foundation for building our student body. So you have the first picture there of the building the foundation. What I see us doing, and we're just developing this, it's just in the first year really, but what I see us doing is using non-accredited programs in churches, short modular classes that meet 1 night a week for 4 weeks, 6 weeks at the most, not for credit, not accredited, to bring people in. It's the threshold, it's the wide end of the funnel as you're building a student body. And as you offer these classes at no cost or low cost, no pressure, very friendly, very accessible, you will see students emerge that are more serious, more academically minded, more deeply feel the call to ministry, willing to put in the extra work to gain ECTS points, to gain credits, to gain credit hours, willing to pay the tuition that's necessary to progress into an accredited program. So the non-accredited programs are the threshold, they're the foundation, they're the wide end of the funnel. Non-traditional. By non-traditional, I mean online, not face-to-face. The biggest challenge and the biggest advantages of non-traditional programs are the same thing. Number one, as you can see by my bowl of flour and eggs, you have to build classes from scratch. The worst online classes you will ever take are the online classes where a professor had a face-to-face syllabus and baptized it to make it online. The best online classes you will ever take are the online classes that are written from the ground up, from scratch. I don't know if that's a European expression or Croatian expression or not, that's an American expression. Built from scratch to be online. The other challenge is the challenge of interactivity. You have to convince your professors that once they write the class and post it online, they are still going to have to devote 8, 10, 12 hours a week or more to interacting online with students. The biggest difficulty online students have is professors are not paying enough attention to them, are not interacting with them. Online classes demand a high level of faculty interactivity. Now, where that comes out is the faculty spend a lot of time writing the class, and then once they get the class posted online, they can reuse it over and over again. And so it's very front heavy on the amount of work for preparation. But then the amount of work on executing the class, teaching the class, is the interactivity that you have to do. Every time you teach it, you have to set aside a certain number of hours a week to interact with students. Here is the challenge, and this is something that has emerged both in my thinking over the past year since the meeting in Athens. The challenge is character. A veteran church leader of this area, somebody who's been in this area for nearly 30 years working in churches, told me the other day that the reason that church growth strategies and evangelism strategies and discipleship strategies and so on that are imported from the United States, imported from the West, don't work, partly is because they're not sensitive to context. But the biggest problem is the problem of leadership character. And when I say character, I don't mean integrity, I don't mean loving God, I don't mean commitment to Christ. What I mean by character is the approach to leadership in this part of the world is different, is peculiar, is particular to this part of the world. And the way that people think about leading a church here is very much cultural to the Balkans. There is a reason that the word Balkans means what it means, or Balkanizing means what it means. If you look up the word Balkanizing in the dictionary, Balkanization is the process by which you take a big group of people and you divide them into small groups and then you set them at odds with each other so that they compete and they fight. Now, I didn't write that definition, so don't throw tomatoes at me. Americans wrote that. No, I believe the Austro-Hungarians wrote that. And when I say character, let me give you a couple of pictures that I think frame this. You know what this trophy is? What is this trophy?
World Cup.
That is the World Cup trophy. How many World Cup trophies are there? One. Do they give it out every year? Every 4 years. This is a scarcity-based game. It is a finite game. There's one winner and everybody else is a loser. And everybody competes with everybody else. This is the way too many people in church leadership, not just in the Balkans, but here, because this is what we're talking about, but other places as well. This is the way they think of leadership. And what I'm talking about is I'm talking about leaders who cannot celebrate someone else's successes. Leaders who are jealous of resources. Leaders who are threatened by emerging leaders within their congregations. And so when someone is coming up in their congregations and begins to ask them questions, they run them off. They smash them down. That is a finite game. I know I'm out of time. I'm going to finish this one other picture. That is a finite game. Here is an infinite game. An infinite game is a game that you play as a group together, and there is no winner because everybody can win. It is a game that you play not for competition, but for cooperation. It is a game that is played out of a heart of abundance rather than a heart of scarcity or a mindset of scarcity. This is the kind of character that our church leaders need to develop. This is the kind of thinking about leadership that our church leaders need to have. How do we get there? Well, that's the rest of my presentation, but I'm out of time. So,